unlike a lot of other Democrats, Chuck Schumer seems to actually maybe have learned the lesson from the 2016 election. Now, recently he decided to call out the party and say that, hey, after this disastrous 2016 election, we need to make some changes in the party. Now, let me go through and lay out some of the stuff that he had talked about. Now, he said that I believe Democrats must take a hard look at what we can do better. Democrats did not do enough to show American workers that we are the party that has their backs. Okay, already, that's a good message. Now, he added the party must study its election loss and make corrections and move forward. Now, that obviously goes against some of what the other Democrats have been saying. Now, Clinton's team and top Democrats, including former Minority Leader Harry Reid, have pointed at things like James Comey and his letter into the investigation of Hillary Clinton's emails. Now, Schumer said, look, Democrats, let's see. He said that while it's easy to blame outside forces, Democrats have to focus on looking forward, including doubling down on what he calls economic justice. Interesting. He said Senate Democrats will once again recommit ourselves to a set of principles that has always been at the core of the party. Now, he argued that an economic message aimed at middle-class Americans would help unite the factions of the Senate caucus, ranging from constituents of Joe Manchin to supporters of Bernie Sanders. He said, what's needed from us Democrats is a bigger, bolder, sharper-edged economic program that addresses how those struggling to stay in the middle class can stay there. He added that Democrats will offer proposals as an alternative path during the Trump era and urge Republicans to pass them in the upper chamber. He said, as the year wears on and it becomes clear that Democratic proposals are what the American people want and need, I hope many will, but we cannot delude anyone that this Congress will start tomorrow taking up priorities of the Democratic minority. Now, what's interesting is that for a long time, we already did have the alternate path. It's called the Progressive Caucus. They would always put out a budget that was incredibly progressive. That's why they're the Progressive Caucus. Okay. Now, it's funny. I bring it up because the Democrats during the Obama administration ignored that. They ignored the House Progressive Caucus. Are they going to start taking them seriously? We'll have to see. But as long as we're offering corrections, well, I've got a few of my own. Now, number one, get money out of politics. And you might be asking, well, why do that? Hillary Clinton ended up raising a lot more money than Donald Trump, and she still lost. So it's not the money, but it actually is the money. Now, on the presidential race, money doesn't matter as much. Let's be clear about that. Because you get a lot of free advertising. I mean, Donald Trump himself got about $2 billion in free ads. So that helps a lot. So when you're getting all that free media attention, you don't have to spend very much. Now, where money does matter is that it matters in low-key Senate and House races, and even more in the state and local elections. Now, in those races, Democrats have been decimated, and third parties have been locked out because, hey, they can't raise enough money to even get noticed. You're not going to know who this person is unless they've got money, unless they've got TV ads they can spend. Now, if you get money out of politics, all of our politicians, state and local, will have state, local, and presidential, will have to go to public financing, meaning they will now be beholden to the voters instead of their large money donors. That's an important thing, because then they'll start being more responsive to us, to the people. Now, if the Democrats right now, since we still have money in politics, and it's going to be a long time till we actually get the money out of politics, the Democrats adopted Bernie Sanders' model of not taking money from super PACs or giant donors, but instead from regular people, supporters, for example, $27 at a time. That would actually be one of the biggest, most important changes the party could make. Because they could show that, hey, we're no longer, look, we tried the whole big money thing, not working. Now we're going to start working for you, cutting off all ties to big money, and we're relying on you now. That would be a huge, huge change. And look, it's not like the Democrats have anything to lose. They've already lost just about everything. Number 2, finally bury Clintonism. It's dead. Neoliberals, the party's over. It's over. The American people are tired of your bullshit. They're tired of the stagnant wages, tired of the expensive healthcare premiums driven by for-profit insurance companies, tired of the tax breaks going to the very, very top, tired of the bad trade deals that give an incentive to create jobs in places like China, Mexico, and Vietnam instead of here. They're tired of putting off doing something about climate change. They're tired of that. I'm tired of career politicians listening to their donors instead of the people. It's time to throw Clintonism into the garbage bin of history and go back to being the party of FDR. This is a guy that was so popular during his time that they invented term limits for him. Number 3, let's begin finally focusing not just on the middle class, but on the poor, the working poor. Safety nets right now have been absolutely shredded. Homelessness has been treated like a personal problem and not as a social issue that we can actually solve. And it's not just Republicans, by the way. It's Democratic politicians that have also ignored the issue of homelessness. You had a Democratic politician in Hawaii that took a sledgehammer and started smashing up homeless people's shopping carts where they kept their possessions. Come on, man. Look, homelessness affects a lot of people, including a large number of our veterans. Reaffirming the need for unemployment benefits is another one. Job training programs, as well as raising the minimum wage. Those are great priorities to focus on. And to an extent, Democrats have always talked about this. But what we need to do is we need to frame it better. And that gets me to number 4. Stop using right-wing messaging and framing. You're letting them frame the conversation. You cannot do that. We shouldn't be having a discussion about how small government should be. What we should be doing is we should be talking about how effective it is at doing what it's supposed to do, what we want it to do as citizens. Talking about the size of government is pretty arbitrary. It doesn't actually mean anything. Small government, big government, doesn't matter. In fact, the Republicans who rail against big government the most actually tend to grow the government bigger. Look at the growth of government under the Bush administration versus the growth of government under the any other administration. Democrats should spend less time talking about size and talk about what they actually want to do and how it's going to affect you. That's how you message. And look, speaking of healthcare, okay, going back to the size of government, right? Why don't we talk about a public option in single-payer healthcare? Why don't we tout the benefits? Now, I remember back during the primary, Hillary said, we'll never ever have single payer. What Democrats need to do is they need to go and disavow that and drop Hillary Clinton like a fucking rock. Done. Gone. The American people, turns out, they like Medicare. They like socialized healthcare. They despise insurance companies. They love Medicaid. So start talking about the benefits of single payer, the benefits of a public option. Talk about doing something about mental health, for fuck's sake. Create a vision and then tell people about it. Give examples of where it works and why, and we've got plenty. We're the only industrialized nation in the world, modern nation that does not have a guarantee of universal health care in the entire world. We have every other country to choose from to use as an example of how this can actually work. Why don't we do it? Why don't the Democrats do that? These are some of the things that I think the Democratic Party needs to do if they actually want to start winning and actually start doing something for the American people. Now, whether or not they're actually going to do that, that's a different question. I've said before that I think right now the Democrats are weak because they are paid to lose. But if you change that system, of the system of money in politics, or start giving to those local politicians $27 at a time, the ones that swear off big money, the ones in your local races, when you build this thing from the bottom, eventually it's going to grow to the top. And whether or not you want to create a new party or take over the Democratic Party, either one's an option. But we've got to start building it now. And the Democrats, look, if the Democrats actually want to do something, like what Chuck Schumer is saying, great. I'm all for it. If not, then we can take our money and our votes somewhere else. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent, non-corporate media, go to our Patreon page and become a patron. Patreon.com/TYTNation.